Hi guys, Eamon here and Mike from AccuFit 360 Health. Mike's just recently joined our clinic, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to sort of go into a little deep dive into who he is and how he came to work with us. So Mike, who are you and how did you come to work here?
Who am I? Well, you can probably tell from my accent, I'm originally from Russia. No, I'm from New Zealand. I moved to Australia with my wife and dog, Sam, 4 years ago almost. Oh, yeah, pretty much 4 years ago.
Welcome.
And how did I get here? Well, it was, so my job has been, for the last 4 years, I've been an academic at NICM, Health Research Institute, at Western Sydney Universities. And how I ended up here is I came to see Eamon maybe 2 years ago now for stress, and because my job's pretty busy. And that was, I guess, it all went downhill from there. So we had, I had a fantastic treatment, and Eamon and I got on really well, I think, maybe. And then I was like, oh, could I, maybe come and work with you? And then we've been working, I guess, on making it happen for the last year or so. And I was very fortunate enough in February to cut down my hours at the university, so I still work there, but less now, and I've been able to come and do some clinic here in beautiful Thirroul.
So we covered a ton there. So Mike's actually an academic and does clinical research into
women's health.
Women's health specific things.
Yeah. So my main areas are I obviously research complementary medicine. Mostly acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine, but also some yoga and other, I guess, lifestyle interventions too, like exercise. Most of my research is on endometriosis, period pain, so primary dysmenorrhea. You can probably see some videos that I've done on that. And also some fertility and pregnancy work as well. So I guess across quite a bit of the women's health spectrum. So yeah.
And you understand both sides of this because you were also, when you were in New Zealand, a practitioner of Chinese medicine as well. So you practice acupuncture in clinic and you also work for the university in research. So you kind of can meld between both worlds quite well.
Yeah, I think I like to think I've got a foot in a couple of different camps, if you like. So my background was I used to be a medical researcher. So I was a cardiovascular biophysicist, which sounds a lot smarter and more exciting than it actually is. So I used to do medical research on heart disease, and then I trained as a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. So I did acupuncture and herbal medicine, as well as Qigong in New Zealand. And then, I did my PhD through Western Sydney University. So I guess I've kind of got, a foot in both camps. And when I was in New Zealand, I was very fortunate to run quite a large clinic with some friends of mine, and so I've been in clinical practice for about 11 years now.
Wow, that's such a long period of time. And so I understand it well, you still work as a researcher at University of Western Sydney, and you're now here working in clinic part-time. And what sort of drew you back into clinic life? Like, why did you feel that need to come back to the people?
I think it's two major reasons. Firstly, I think I just missed the contact with patients. Academia is quite a demanding job, but it's also quite a lonely job. You tend to sit in front of a computer a lot and write. And while I really enjoy that, I really missed actually seeing, the results of the work and interacting with people and actually, I guess, I feel like my research makes a difference in people's lives, but it's also really nice to see that as well. And the other thing is that I think good researchers often need to be clinicians as well, because we need to see, how things are going, on the ground, keep our, finger on the pulse, no pun intended. And, and also I love to see the translation of the research I do back into clinical practice.
Yeah, fantastic. So you're here part-time, and so a couple days a week, and you want to dive back into clinic life. Is there something that's drawn you to it? Is there something that you want to treat? Is there some women that you want to help in a certain area?
Yeah, so I think obviously my passion is for women's health broadly, but especially endometriosis, period pain, and fertility is probably my main areas. And it's just because it's something that not only do I have experience with in research, but it's affected me personally. So the reason I got into, I guess, women's health in the beginning was my wife was on the contraceptive pill for many years. We wanted to have a family, so she came off and started getting really severe period pain. And at the time, I was like, "Well, this is easy. We'll easily take care of this, and we'll be able to get some medication and it'll all sort it out." And I was quite shocked to find that that wasn't the case. And so that just, I guess, that triggered an interest in me. And then when I was an acupuncture student, I noticed, we'd often ask women, and when they came in, and when you're a student, you have to ask every question. Someone comes in for a sprained ankle, you still ask them about their periods. You have to.
Yeah.
And I'd notice, I'd say to women, "Oh, how's your period?" And they'd say, "Oh, it's normal." And then we'd delve into the questioning, and they had pain, and they weren't sleeping properly, or they had emotional problems. And it made me realize not only it was common, but people weren't coming to see me, or they weren't even saying they had these problems. They were just saying it's normal. And I was like, wow, this is, this just seems so strange to me. Can we do something about it? So I started treating more and more of this and started to see really good results. And I was like, this is fantastic. We need to, not only do we need to do this treatment, but we need to make sure people know that they can get some relief. And that's why I did my PhD on period pain. And then I guess the progression of that has been for me into endometriosis, and another very marginalised group of women suffering severe pain, fatigue, nausea, so many other symptoms, and again often just struggling to get good pain control, good symptom control.
Yeah, it seems to be sort of that story, and that what you experienced just seems to be such a trend of what we see in clinic is women coming in and families coming in with their partners, either trying to fall pregnant or just coming for just other pathologies. Like a woman who came in with just general headaches, and it was like, "Oh, I just really want to get on top of my headaches." And we sort of, in Chinese medicine, we do a differential diagnosis. So we look at everything in the body, we look at everything holistically. And we found out that she'd had just chronic irregular periods her entire life, and it was excruciating pain every month. And I said, "Is that something that you want to prioritize? Is that something that you want to address?" And she's like, "No, that's just normal, I guess. And these generalized headaches is something that I'll, that come and go, is something that I want to address." And I just thought, wow, there's just such a normalization of pain. And if there is something that we can do, we should try and do that more and more. And that always sort of stuck in my mind, and similarly built like this curiosity with the medicine from a holistic approach to treating these sorts of complex pathologies that seem to exist in all areas of life, and where people just say, "I've got to put up with the pain because that's the information that I've been given. I'm told that this is not going to improve, and this is just my life now." So it's so interesting that you experienced that and dived into your PhD. How do you balance between the two? How do you find wearing one hat, which is obviously like I would say a strongly Western medical system with research, working for the university, and then coming into more of a holistic framework? Are you able to float quite easily, or are they two different things?
That's a good question. I wish I had a really smart answer for that. I guess I don't think about it too much. I guess also, I often need to wear a hat, but I just find it comes naturally. And I think part of it is that when I was doing my PhD, I did it in New Zealand, but at Western Sydney University. So I was doing all my research, everything, sitting in front of my computer at home, then going into my clinical practice, because I was still practicing while I was doing my PhD, and I did my research in my clinic as well. So I think it's just been, that's the way I've done research from the start. So it feels very natural. There's not to say there's not conflicts, but that's more about time, having two jobs is always tricky. But in terms of, I don't feel like I have to put off one hat and put on another. And I think that's reflected in my practice. I think, I tend to, I'm very into integrative medicine. I really like to think of things both from a Western framework and a TCM framework, and look for what's going to get the best results. You know, I guess I'm not wedded to one or the other. I just think, what can we do, you know, to improve people's quality of life?
Yeah,
you know?
fantastic.
And so whatever that is, I'm going to talk to, you know, people about that. Yeah.
I think that's so important, and holistic as a framework and a buzzword in natural therapies is always disregard Western medical models and only go with whatever it is, whatever's hot today, whether it's a essential oil detox regime, whether it's this sort of juice fast, whether it's this acupuncture protocol or whatever. And I think the beauty and how Mike and I resonated, I think from the start, obviously we got along personality wise, but we resonated in the same way that we look at treatment, and I would never personally discount something that was beneficial and effective just because it didn't necessarily fit my ideology or my narrative. I really want ultimately for people to feel good, and I think you have that same drive, is that health isn't perfect. Like, there's lots of gaps and deficiencies in all areas of the health landscape, but if we can combine both, if we can always look at everything and leave no stone unturned, then we're always going to be further along and further ahead. So I think that's really good that you can navigate quite easily, because I think it is important in this landscape. Not everyone's going to come with just a really hippie or left approach. Some are going to come really clinically minded and right, and we have to be able to work with both personalities and everyone in between. Yeah, fantastic. I guess one of my final questions is, what does Mike enjoy? What's his passion outside of academia and clinic life?
Well, I think if anyone who's watching this is an academic, you probably realise you don't often have much of a life outside of academia. But I'd say the biggest thing for me is I love music. Not making it, because I have no talent at all, but listen to it. So I think my wife would agree that I spend far too much money on collecting records and buying expensive audio gear. But music I love, and I guess yoga, and I guess trying to, I've been really trying to put more effort into improving my self-care as well. So I think that's hopefully starting to become a more important part of my life too.
Beautiful. And just as any note, what's the genre of music? We the Backstreet Boys, some sort of K-pop, maybe Korean pop?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of what is it, Blackpink? I don't know who they are. I just saw it on Google. Jazz.
Jazz
sorry.
man?
Yeah. I like to. I do like to fulfill the academic stereotype of a bit of jazz, and I don't have elbow pads on my blazer yet, but it's coming. When I become promoted to a professor, you get a complimentary set.
Yeah, you also promised something that I could stitch into into either my t-shirt or into my...
When you've got ready, when you've made the grade, I'm sure I can make it happen for you.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks guys. If you've listened along this far, we appreciate it. This is an interview, or first part into Dr. Mike. We'll be doing a series of these videos so you can get to know a little bit more about us, the people that are working with you, and essentially from us, please take care of your health. If you absolutely need anything, let either of us know.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. Really appreciate it, especially to my New Zealand accent for almost like 14 minutes. That's pretty impressive.
Alrighty, guys. Bye for now.
See ya.